What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guys, Derek and Cody here. As always, today, guys, we wanted to talk about some over-under numbers for some individual and team stats going into this 2022 season. We've done this a couple times over the last few off seasons. Kind of fun to talk about a few players from a statistical standpoint. Now, we're not going to talk about every single player here. We could definitely do that, but it just seems like it'd be an extremely long video if we decided to talk about just about every single player here. Now, if you guys do want to have us talk a little bit more about these stats and do more over under predictions for some players that we don't mention in this, then feel free to shoot us a comment down below in this video and let us know if you want to see more of something like this. So let's go ahead and move to the offense here. We'll start with Matt Ryan, a few stats for him. Cody, so the over-under here for Matt Ryan is 4,000 yards. What do you say? You going over or going under on that number?
I'm going over for Matt Ryan because last year, even his worst season, he nearly eclipsed that, with virtually no receivers, no offensive line. And I just think he's been a career 4,000 plus yard passer. So I think he had one down year, and I think he's going to come back and he's going to have a 4,000 yard season. Heck, Phillip Rivers did a couple years ago, right? So I really feel like even though Jonathan Taylor is going to be the main focus, I do feel like Matt Ryan is going to, take the next step, because you even look at the Colts stats from last year from Carson Wentz. I think they had he had like 3,300 yards or something along that line. And, that's also him being injured a couple games. That's him, really not throwing the football a lot. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and you gave him more weapons. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Matt Ryan to well eclipse 4,000 yards.
Yeah, I'm probably going to agree with you. I'm going to go over on this as well. Like you said, last season, one of the worst seasons for him statistically, but yet still was almost at that 4,000 mark. In the 14 seasons, Matt Ryan's been a quarterback in the NFL. Only 4 times has he not eclipsed 4,000 yards passing. And that was obviously one of them being last year. And there's been 3 times where he's eclipsed over 4,700 yards passing. So there's been 2 times he's come within 100 yards shy of 5,000. So, there's been times where, Matt Ryan has really been the yardage guy his entire career. The touchdown numbers sometimes don't match the yardage numbers, but he has always been a yardage quarterback. So that wouldn't surprise me at all if he hits the 4,000 threshold this year. Like you said, even with Jonathan Taylor, still being the primary focus, I think the Colts are going to understand that Matt Ryan's going to need to throw the football for them to be more consistent. So let's go to the touchdowns. Over under 29.
Ooh, this is good because I'm expecting somewhere around here. I'm going to go slightly under. I'm going to say 27-28 for Matt Ryan. And I think that's just because Jonathan Taylor is going to get a lot of those carries near the goal line, right? I think him and Hines and Phillip Lindsay and whoever else, I think they're going to get a lot of carries near that goal line. But I do think it's going to be in that high 20 to early 30. So I think right around there for me.
I got you. I'm back and forth with this. It would not surprise me if he goes over 30. I would honestly say that I think that he'll probably get in that 27-28 range. Even with the increased yardage here, I still think that, when it comes to the focus and shift of the offense, they still want to ground and pound in the red zone. I think that he'll probably get close to the same number that Carson Wentz had last year. And even the last 3 seasons, Matt Ryan's thrown for 26, 26, and 20. Only 3 times has he ever thrown for over 30 passing touchdowns in his career. And one of those times being when he won his MVP in 2016. So, I think he probably will stay under that 30 threshold. So I'll say just slightly under. I'll go with you on that.
Yeah, it's close.
It is very close. Jonathan Taylor now. We're going to go to Jonathan Taylor. 2,100 all-purpose yards.
Ooh, This is a good one. Do you know by chance how much all-purpose yards he had last
He
year?
had, I think it was 1,836 rushing yards and then 369 receiving yards, which would put him just under 2,200 all purpose yards.
Okay, then in that case, I'm going to go under because I think the Colts are going to utilize him less as they should for durability standpoint. I think guys like Hines and whoever that third running back is should and will get a few more carries down the stretch. And I think some people might be like, "Oh, that's why would you do that?" But honestly, I think this could be a blessing in disguise. So I'm going to go under.
Uh, you know, yeah, I think I'll agree with you. Like you and I have stated several times, the Colts media has been saying this a lot over the offseason that Jonathan Taylor's probably going to lose a few snaps this year with Naheem Hines now getting more into the picture. And, with him maybe taking some running snaps away from Jonathan Taylor as well. So I expect Jonathan Taylor to still remain efficient like he normally is, get averaging 5+ yards per carry. But at the end of the day, don't expect him to run the ball 330 times next year. And I just think that's just ultimately going to be the same scenario. Now, when we're talking about touchdowns, let's go with 19 touchdowns. Now, last year he finished the season with 20.
Wow, really? He finished with
Yep,
20.
18 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns.
I'm going to go under as well because I think the Colts are going to spread the ball out a little bit more, right? I think they're going to use Hines. I think they're going to use guys like Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, Jelani Woods, Mo Alley Cox. I think they're going to use a lot more of these guys. And so I think the touchdowns are going to be more spread out, kind of like the yardage I feel like is going to be this next year. Kind of what the Colts were in 2020 in certain ways. Obviously, Taylor, completely much of a better back than he was his rookie season. But, you know what I'm saying? Like the Colts when their offense is running at peak efficiency, they like to spread the ball around a lot more. So I think a lot of mouths are going to get into the end zone, and that may just take a little bit of a dip in his touchdown production. But I still think he has the opportunity to get near that, 15 to 20 mark. I really do.
And it's funny because for the same reason you just mentioned, I think that he will actually end up passing the 19 touchdown mark because of the fact that you said they spread the ball around so much, but yet at the same time, I think Jonathan Taylor, even though he's going to get a little less usage, I think that the times they're going to use him is what's important here, especially in the red zone. I think that you're going to see a few more opportunities open for him, knowing the fact that the Colts are going to be able to spread the ball out a little more. And you could see Jonathan Taylor with potentially more than just 2 receiving touchdowns this year. I think that you could see him with 3 or 4 by the end of the year, given his big playability. So I think that the way they're going to utilize him is going to be more efficient, which is going to allow him to score just as much as he did last year, albeit maybe have a few less rushing touchdowns, but might have a few more receiving touchdowns by the end of the year. So I'll go over. I'll go over on that
Okay.
one. All right.
Okay, I can see both sides of this argument, man. I
Yeah.
get it. Even with like the rushing yards, I was like, hey, look, like, maybe his carries are down, but the Colts are going to be a lot less predictable next year, like on offense. They actually will have a passing attack, we think. So maybe that gets him more peak efficiency and he has more yardage because of that on less carries.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. All right. Last offensive player here. Like I said, guys, if you want us to do this more and you want us to have a few more players involved, you be sure to let us know. But Michael Pittman, let's go first with 85 receptions. And I finished last season with 88.
Yeah. I think just similar to the argument we just had about the touches, I think that'll go slightly down. I think around, 70 to 80 realistically for Pittman. But I think, Michael Pittman was literally the only receiver getting targets last year. You got to factor that in. So I do think, he's going to still have a lot of production. He's going to obviously be the number one wide receiver, but I think it's going to get spread around a little bit more. And so maybe he won't have as many targets next year as he did last year, just because the Colts are actually going to have some other options for Matt Ryan to throw the ball to. That's my opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I think he'll go slightly under. I think he's still going to be in the low 80s. That's just me, but I think that he is still the number one guy. And regardless of, Paris Campbell still getting a lot of attention and Alec Pierce as well, I still think that Michael Pittman is still the number one guy. So still think he hits that high 70, low 80 threshold. All right, 1,100 receiving yards.
See, I could see this going up because Matt Ryan, we know the kind of quarterback that he is, and when he has a number one receiver, they get a lot of yardage. Like he is, and Matt Ryan especially is one of the best deep passers in the league.
Mhm.
And we saw Pittman last year when given the opportunity to go deep, he was a Mawson dude. So I could realistically see that going up because really the last couple weeks of the season, Pittman really didn't get targeted that much, right? He didn't really get as many receptions or targets or looks as he did to start because the passing offense was virtually non-existent down the stretch. So I do think the yardage will go up.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think he actually gets over 1,100 yards this year by a little bit because, he's only averaging 12.3 yards per catch last season. That's actually down from what he did in 2020. He actually averaged 12.6 yards per catch in 2020. I think it's easily doable to say that Michael Pittman could average 13 and a half yards per catch, if not higher, this next season, because I think his catches, like you said, are not only going to be they might be in less quantity, but the quality of those catches, I think, is what's going to really stand out here. And so we go to touchdowns. 7 touchdowns. Finished last year with 6.
Yeah, that's going up. That's going up, no doubt.
All right, I'm gonna agree with you.
I think he hits
I'll go
double
over
digits
on that.
Yeah, I think he hits double digits this year. I really do.
Okay. This one, I feel like I know. We're gonna go to defense here. So now I feel like I know. Your answer to this because
Do you?
this guy's been one of your favorites ever since he signed with Indianapolis this offseason. Yannick Ngakoue, and the over under is at 9.5 sacks.
Ooh, because he had 10 last year, right?
I believe so. I'm about to look that up just to
Okay.
make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he
believe so.
finished last season with 10 sacks. Yes.
All right. Oh boy, this is really tough because I have him like right around here. Um,
You think there's a bigger
and
chance he goes under for 9 sacks, or you think there's a bigger chance he finishes with 10 plus?
gosh. Oh, I'm gonna go over, just slightly over.
Okay.
That's so tough, though. I could see a scenario both ways, but I do feel like, yeah, he's gonna get more opportunities, more one-on-ones. He has a guy like DeForest Buckner who's gonna give him more one-on-one opportunities.
Mhm.
He obviously has Kwity Paye on the other side as well, who's gonna help him out. So I do think he's gonna be floating around that 9 to 10 sack range this year. For sure. But I think the next guy we have on this list, I have a little bit of a stronger opinion on. But yeah, I think for Yannick, I have it hovering right there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's going to finish with 10.5. So I'm going over. I think Yannick, like you mentioned, DeForest Buckner being there, helping out on that side. Yannick's not going to get a lot of double teams on offensive line. So it would not surprise me if he does end up getting that double digit sack threshold that we think of. All right, next guy, Kwity Paye, 6.5 sacks, over or under?
Over for sure.
Okay.
I have Quiddy like 8 or 9,
Oh,
honestly.
wow.
I
Okay.
really think he's going to make a jump. I mean, I think it was really clicking. He started off so slow last year,
Mhm.
and it's really starting to click for him. I have really high hopes for Quiddy, and kind of the similar reason to why I think Yannick's going to have double-digit sacks is because who are you going to block, man? Like, honestly, I think out of all the guys on the starting defensive line, I definitely think that Quiddy has the greatest opportunity for the most one-on-one opportunities. I really think he does because he is the most unproven player right now on this defensive line in terms of pass rush. So, I think he's going to get a tremendous opportunity to really start to make a name for himself here in year number 2. And now working with Gus Bradley, and working with Nate Ollie, I really, really think based off of what we've seen in Gus Bradley's scheme, it really seems to help these pass rushers. So I'm really thinking that despite the terribleness at coaching staff last year at defensive line, Kwity Paye still was breaking out. So I really think he's going to jump, and I think he's going to more than double his sack total next year.
Yeah, I definitely agree he's going to up it. I don't know if he'll double it, but he'll definitely up it. I'll definitely say finishes with 7 sacks by the end of the year. I mean, he, like you said, he finished the year really strong. And, having a guy like Yannick Ngakwe who is going to force quarterbacks to move themselves into Kwity Paye's line of trajectory is what's going to help him with a higher sack total. And like you said, he's going to get him and probably Dio are going to get the highest amount of single coverage or single protection against the pass. So, it's one of those things where they'll take advantage. And you said it, Kwity Paye started off the year really just injured a lot. Didn't really get a chance to really build on anything until we got to the Buffalo game where he had 1.5 sacks. So I really think that with the addition of Yannick Ngakwe, and obviously that helps DeForest Buckner in a way, I really think that it's going to help Kwity Paye to achieve a much higher status in sack totals. DeForest Buckner now, since we're on that topic, over under on 8 sacks.
Yeah, who had he had like 10 or something his first year with Indy?
His first year with Indy had 9.5. Last season had 7.
Okay. So you're saying 8?
Yeah,
I think that's just about right for him. What can I just say? Like, I think 8's like the perfect number for him.
Okay. You can say that.
Okay. I think it is. That's what I was going to go with.
Okay. All right. 8 sacks. Yeah, I think 8.5 is about where I would have it as well. I think he takes a slight up on the pass rush department this year. I mean, like you said from before, he was just so many times last season he was getting double and triple teamed half the time. So, it was in one of those situations where, he really didn't have much to go off of. There was many times where he was just making play. If you put one man on him to block him, you're almost never going to win that battle. DeForest Buckner will beat almost any offensive lineman just one-on-one, mano-a-mano. So it's been best coverage for all of these teams to say, all right, we'll let Yannick Ngakwe, we'll let Kwity Paye, we'll let Dio beat us. We just can't let DeForest Buckner beat us because DeForest Buckner is just that much better than the rest of them. Now, I'll probably just go a little higher. I'll probably go 8.5, 9 for me for DeForest Buckner this year. So I probably will go just a little higher than what you want to.
Yeah. Can we just take some time to just, like, as you were talking, I just realized, like, we overlook DeForest Buckner's impact probably way too much because this dude is the heart and soul of that defensive line.
Oh,
like
100%.
I mean, it's crazy that we didn't have him a couple seasons ago. Like, and how good that trade was. I mean, my goodness, DeForest Buckner was worth it.
Oh, 100%.
He was worth it, man.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, he's been, in talks with, when we got him in 2020, after that 2020 season, you and I kept talking all the time about who's the more impactful player right now on the defense, DeForest Buckner or Darius Leonard. I mean, after the 2020 season, there were multiple times you could have said DeForest Buckner and you might have been right. But, I would have said, I said Darius Leonard back then. I still say it now. I think we all agree Darius Leonard is the most impactful. But when you're talking about that defensive line, I mean, that defensive line goes through DeForest Buckner. If Buckner's not on the field, there is a huge drop off and how good that team would be. Even this year, if DeForest Buckner does not play, the drop off in the production of that defensive line unit just drops dramatically.
Yeah, it does. The fact that, I mean, he's just such a good, like, leader and such a good, like, selfless person, like, selfless teammate. Like, because, like, you look at, like, he had nobody around him that was really doing anything of note. And he was playing way too much last year.
Yeah.
But he had a great attitude. He had a great attitude, and I thought he led well. So I think it's going to be great that he's going to have some more help, this year. I really think that he'll be able to flourish and get back to being as, not that he wasn't effective last year, but the fact that he was just on the field so much and getting double and triple teamed at times, like, I mean, that has to impact him in some way, just consistently, having to deal with that. So I think, kind of similar to all these guys, it kind of like feeds into itself, It's like, okay, if Quiddy's getting double teamed, then, Yannick and DeForest will get, more one-on-one opportunities. And same goes for all the other players. So it's just great to have good pass rushers, in this league to help each other out,
100%.
So
yeah,
just
he's an
very
all-around
excited.
great player.
Just very excited for this group and excited for Buckner in this new scheme because, as good of a player as he is, could he even get better in this Gus Bradley scheme? That's crazy to say because he's a phenomenal player. But DeForest Buckner, I feel like he still has upside to get better. I really feel like he does.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm excited to see what Gus Bradley and this, this defensive line and defensive scheme really does to help a guy like DeForest Buckner out.
Absolutely. All right. Last defensive individual player here before we move into team stuff. Darius Leonard. We're going to do 10 turnovers. That's the over under here. So to give you perspective, rookie year had 6 turnovers. Second year had 7 turnovers. 2020 only had 3 turnovers. And then this last season had 12 turnovers with 8 forced fumbles and 4 interceptions. Mind you, did that on a bum ankle, by the way.
Yep. All right. I'm going to go under. Let me explain why.
Okay.
Julian Blackmon's going to be back.
Okay.
He was making plays last, when he was healthy. You have Stephon Gilmore who makes plays. I just think it's going to be the defense is going to just continue to create turnovers, but it's not just going to be from one guy. I really feel like it will. I feel like Leonard, is still going to have a lot of turnovers. I think he's going to have, 7, 8 turnovers this next year, being fully healthy. But I think some of these other players are going to get more opportunities and are going to make more plays this year. I think guys like Isaiah Rodgers is going to take a leap, I feel like, and he's going to get more interceptions next year. So all that to say, Darius Leonard, we all know the turnover machine, the maniac. But I think just, and this is a very good thing, like when your whole team is doing this, maybe your individual stats might go down, but that's okay. You will take that every single day of the week. And I think that might be the case with Darius Leonard. But honestly, Darius Leonard, he's crazy. I could see him having 15 turnovers next year because he's just that type of player. Like, I'm never going to tell him that he can't do that because
you should tell him that he can't do it because then he goes out and does it.
All right, Darius, 15 turnovers next year. I bet you can't do it. I bet you're scared.
It's crazy to think 28 turnovers in 4 years. 28 turnovers in his first 4 years in the league. I mean, that's just incredible. I mean, Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher, 2 of the greatest linebackers to ever do it, never even came close to that turnover differential. Never. They were never the turnover machines that Darius Leonard is. And last year you saw it that he practically perfected the peanut punch. I mean, just being able to knock the ball out at will. Anytime he was in the middle of a tackle, you were just waiting for that ball to come out of the ball carrier's hands. You were just waiting for it. And last year, even with a bad ankle, still with 4 interceptions last year, coming in some really big clutch situations. I mean, and not to mention, like I said before, he played last season with a terrible ankle. He couldn't even run half the time with the ball in his hands. I can only imagine now with what we're hearing with, this pinched nerve that was in his back that was messing with his foot the whole time. And they're thinking that now he might actually be ready for training camp all along because he's already making great progress. I mean, he's a month out of the surgery at this point. He's already doing really well. And they think he's going to be as healthy as he's been in 3 years. I mean, this guy is primed to do 15 turnovers this next season. I'm not going to say he won't. I truly think he will do it. And that's what the crazy part is. I understand your point of talking about, the rest of the defense kind of filling out the rest of the turnover differential. I get that. But at the end of the day, I still think the maniac is the maniac. And he's going to go get his. He's going to go get his 6, 7 forced fumbles this next season. He's going to get his 3 or 4 interceptions that he needs. I just think that is ultimately what's going to happen. He's going to be the healthiest he's been in a long time. And this defense is going to remain deadly with the maniac being in the middle.
Mm-hmm. For sure. for sure.
All right, let's go to some team stats here. So you stated the over under, whether we think we're going to be higher or lower when it comes to the NFL passing yards, 15th. So you think that the Colts will jump up on that list, meaning they'll get better, or do you think that they'll go down, meaning they're going to go further down on the list?
Yeah, I think last year they were like bottom half of the league in terms of passing yards. So I just said it, I like 15th because I'm like, well, you got a new quarterback, you added a few more weapons. I think it's going to be, honestly, that's tough because that's a very tough one. I might go over.
I'll give you mine. I think that
Okay.
this team will be over in passing yards. I think they'll probably finish like 12th or 13th when it comes to passing offense, because Matt Ryan, the quarterback that he is, you're going to get a slight jump in the passing side of things, even though the Colts want to run the football, still think that they're going to finish in the top half when it comes to passing yardage.
Yep. Okay. Makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll probably go right around there. Probably like 10 to 15 range.
Gotcha.
That sounds about right.
So, and then you also had here when it came to the rushing yards, we'll say when it comes to rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, let's just say the Colts will finish, let's say
Top five?
fourth. Let's say fourth.
Okay.
In
Four.
both.
All right. Okay. I think for that, I think the Colts will be number 5. So I guess I'll go under. I think I'll go under.
Okay.
Just barely. I think they'll be top 5. I think it'll be 5.
I think the Colts will will end up finishing top 3 when it comes to rushing yards. I think they're going to finish third in total rushing yards. When it comes to the rushing touchdowns, I think that it's going to actually fall backwards. I think they're going to go to like 7 or 8 in total rushing touchdowns. I think some other teams are going to run the ball more effectively in the red zone than what we will be, just because of how the offense is going to go. But I still think the rushing yard total, still think it's going to be there. And sacks allowed. Let's say, obviously, the Colts were not great last year at doing that. Let's say the Colts finish 5th in total sacks allowed. Will they allow more or allow less?
I think they'll allow a little bit more. I think I'm going probably 7.
Okay.
I think the addition of Matt Ryan will definitely help in that department, because how many times did Carson Wentz basically sack himself in certain situations last year? Now I get it. Left tackle wasn't great last year. We talked about it already. The offensive line, there were some guys injured, guys weren't playing up to their usual standard that we've seen. So I'll say they're going to be fringe top 5, but I think 7 is where I'm going to land there in terms of, sacks allowed, because there is a big question at left tackle.
I'm going to say they go under. I'm going to say they're going to finish, they're going to allow only the 4th most sacks in the league, because for the exact reason you mentioned, Matt Ryan being able to get the ball out quicker, understand a defense, know how to read a defense so much better than Carson Wentz, I think is going to keep Matt Ryan out of a lot more stressful situations. And he knows how to get rid of the football and how to avoid pressure a lot better than Carson Wentz did.
Yeah, I get that. I could see that argument too. I think it's going to certainly be good. It's just like, how good will it be in year 1? We'll see.
Right. All right, let's move to the defense. Passing defense finished 16th last year. We're going to go with overall passing defense at 14th this year. Higher or lower?
All right. That's going up, in my opinion, because you've added to the pass rush. You signed Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Faison in your secondary, in your corner room. You get Julian Blackmon back. You also have Nick Cross, who you think has tremendous upside. And if not him, Rodney McLeod. I think both of those guys, honestly, are upgrades over Kari Willis, especially in terms of coverage. I think they both are. So I think it's going to be a little bit better than it was last year, because you were playing with guys like Andrew Sendejo back there. Heck, you were freaking like in the last game, like you were down to like your 4th or 5th corner. Like, I think like you're going to be better. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I think this defense definitely has the potential to finish as a top 10 passing defense. So I definitely will say they probably finish in 11 or 12 compared to last season at 16th. So I think that definitely they're going over when it comes to the total. Rushing defense. This team finished at 10th last year in rushing defense. Uh, let's say ranking this year for ninth, higher or lower there.
All right. I think they're going to be a little worse than they were last year. I'm going to say like probably 11th is where I'm going to go.
I'm in a total agreement with you there. I think that the way their defense is set up now is to be more of a pass oriented defense. Not saying they're going to be trash against the run, but I definitely think they'll take a few steps back.
Right.
Scoring defense, ninth last year in the NFL with 21 and a half points per game. Let's say eighth this year, higher or lower.
Bring it up. Bring it up. You're getting some key guys back and you're getting some new, really good additions. So I think I'm bringing it up.
Okay. All right. I'll say they finished seventh. I'd say they finished seventh in scoring defense. All right. Turnovers. Last year, second in the NFL with 33. Over under on 34 turnovers this year.
Oh, gosh. Bro, I don't know if I can like just say they're going to do that again because that was like crazy.
That was,
you know?
I mean, yeah, you had Darius Leonard to thank there with accumulating 36% of your turnovers.
I almost have to say they're going to get less because like that was just so crazy. I think they'll get a lot, but like that was just crazy amount. So I don't know. I think they'll get slightly less, I guess. I don't know. Don't kill me in the comments, but we'll go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I almost kind of want to you know what? I'm just going to do it just for the hell of it. I'm going to say over just because.
Oh
I'm just going to say it just because. I get what you're saying and the fact that, yeah, it's really hard to, be a turnover team like that. I know that but the team is also going to be a lot more aggressive this season than what they were last year. I think that that's going to accumulate to some more turnovers in a different kind of way. All right.
Yeah, we'll see. Yep.
Yeah, last one here that we'll finish, and it's the team wins. We've been talking about it for for months now. 10 and a half wins as the total. Over or under, Jody?
Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to go over because I think they're going to win the freaking division finally.
There it is.
You can come back to this video in a year, and if I look like an idiot, so what? I've said dumber things, man. Yes. I was the guy that defended TJ Green, so I won't say much about that.
Has he ever like publicly responded to you?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
he probably has. He doesn't like the fact that Colts Nation doesn't like him.
Well, he probably blocked me like 1,000 other Colts fans he blocked.
Very true. I've been saying it all off season that I think that the Colts can really bounce in between 10 and 12 wins. I'd say they finish 11. I'll go over on the 10 and a half. I'll say they go slightly over because, like you said, trying to win that division is the big thing here. Trying to make sure that they secure a playoff spot for sure. So,
and I think it's going to take 11 or 12 wins to do that.
Yeah, it's going to take at least 11 wins in order to do that. So, yeah, it's going to take that to be able to get there. So, we'll see what they do. But thank you guys again so much for tuning into this video. Let us know your thoughts on some of these over-under numbers. What do you guys think? And again, if you want us to do more of this with some more players that we didn't get a chance to talk about, just be sure to let us know. Maybe we'll do it with some other guys that we haven't mentioned. There's a lot of different players here that we didn't mention on both sides of the ball. So feel free to let us know in the comments if you want us to do more. Thank you guys again so much for the continued support. And as always, guys, go Colts.